Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Of course, we did lose on our last run, so I'm actually going to switch to doing some Eden streaks for the time being. Or Eden, let's not call it streaks. Let's call it happy, fun Eden times, and if we win, that's great. 9VDD HOMQ. You can see our stats, they're pretty good. Starting with the clicker is a little weird. Definitely a little weird. We'll probably not use it, especially now that there's a chance for us to pick up a different item. Here's the thing. You know my philosophy on the design of Isaac. What a dodge. If the clicker didn't make you lose an item randomly when you used it, I would probably use this item maybe every time it appeared because it would be fun. But because it makes you lose an item, I think that's dumb. Like, full stop. And that's not the nicest way to put it, but I'm like, yeah, I know you might be out there begging the question, you know, well, then when you got the clicker, you could just press the space bar over and over until you got, like, an amazing character. So what? Like, honestly, who cares? Let people have fun with it, right? Who's worried about the esports balance of Isaac when instead we could be... I mean, it's not like the clicker shows up on every run and is giving out free wins. Like, it's, you know, it's as rare as any other item in the game, I think. It's just a philosophy that I think is a little bit counter to what the most fun parts of Isaac are. But that's okay. What's done is done. It's already been handled. You know, we probably would want the spirit heart here, so let's make sure we manage to make that come to pass. And honestly, this is looking pretty good so far. Of course, there is inevitably... There is like a sense of loss anytime a streak of any sort of length ends. And I think that we definitely had a winnable keeper run that I threw away by taking dumb damage on like one particular room. But, them's the breaks, you know, the keeper's not an easy character, and part of the reason the game's fun to watch is because anything could happen. At least that's part of why I think it's fun to watch. And, you know, if I, after 9 years of playing this game, have not... oh, you love to see it. Have not gotten used to losing yet, then I have done something wrong. Something has gone terribly awry in the adult growth process for me, and I am basically a little baby. Losing to other people, unacceptable. Losing to the game itself, there's nothing I could do, dude. It cheated. It knows the source code. It predicted my inputs. This is ridiculous. I think about this from time to time. And apparently we're going to open this episode by talking about games. I've annoyed some people. Some people have even described it as toxic. And I disagree, but I see where they're coming from, okay? Whenever there's an argument in chat about like something to do with a video game, one of the things I like to say, and I partly like to say it because it annoys people, for sure, is... Please remember that you're having like a heated debate over what is essentially a sophisticated toy. You know what I mean? And just don't be mad for a second. You know, it's an entertainment product. It's designed to bring something to your life in that sense. It's not. I'm not gonna be an idiot and say like, well, it should always be fun. You know, because different people play games for different reasons, you know? Some people might be like, I've played a lot of fun games recently. What I'd really like is to play a game that makes me think or something like that. Or play a game where I might even be frustrated, but I'm getting something out of it. Because when I eventually, you know, figure out how to do Sea Viper's incredible combo, there's going to be like a sense of, ooh, very nice. There's going to be a sense of like, you know, growth from that. But I oftentimes do take a step back to remind myself because, you know, I work in an industry that, to be honest, is upset about video games. I mean, I work in the games industry, particularly, like, not just the media side, but, like, the YouTuber side, where you don't have to answer to anybody but your fans and yourself. And I think that leads to a lot of people who spend, like, a lot of every single day being angry at these, and I'm always like, if you're a YouTuber, I get it, because it pays the bills. To be the guy who's like, I'm the only one holding EA's feet to the fire. But if you're like an end consumer, you know, you don't have a YouTube channel or a podcast or you know, like a Twitter account where people follow you for these kind of hot takes, I'm always like, why are you so upset? Just like, I'm not saying don't care about anything, because that's, anytime you are like, is this worth caring about? People are like, oh, just never care about anything. I see how it is. But, you know, really evaluate, you know, whether or not, I think we'll just leave. I don't think we need the black market. Yeah, I think it would benefit a lot of people to evaluate the relationship that games and even the games industry, for whatever reason, have in their lives. Because I think, you know, originally when they were making, you know, Pong and Tennis for Two, they weren't like, dude, I can't wait for 30 years from now where people are arguing about this stuff on the internet nonstop. I think they were like, oh, this will be a fun way. When nothing's on TV, you can check this out. And obviously has grown in a positive way since then, but at the same time, I'm also like, man, so many people are out there letting games make them miserable. And I'm not exclusively talking about MOBA players. There's also collectible card game players. You gotta evaluate how it fits into your life. That's why, for me, oh, that was a bad dodge, but, you know, losing, and it's taken me a while to get here, I'll admit, but, like, losing the Isaac streak, for me, first off, it's only 24 wins. Secondly, it's just, it's kind of whatever, you know? Because, you know, what am I actually worried about or annoyed with? I'm not annoyed that I lost so much. I'm like, oh, people are probably not gonna be as interested in watching episodes now that I've lost. Then you're like, you know, you kind of walk through it a little bit and you're like, well, that's like, nobody's watching this game. Well, let's not say nobody. But a very small percentage of people watching the game right now are watching because, you know, of the win, lose, or draw effect. If they were, they probably would have, you know, left a long time ago to watch a better player. And they might be watching multiple people in, you know, not simultaneously, but in sequence. We didn't need to do that, but that's okay. So you realize, you know, are you actually upset with the game, or are you upset with yourself in some way? I don't know. I try to be the little pickled ginger. You know what I mean? I try to be the palate cleanser, because, and it's the 25th time I've talked about this, bare minimum, but, you know, I think there's a lot of negativity surrounding games on Twitch and YouTube sometimes. Gotta remember, I read an article about this, actually. Forbes interviewed a Destiny streamer and was like, how do you feel about Destiny? And he was like, it's been casualized, and I don't want to insult the streamer. I don't remember. First off, he might be right, and secondly, I've never played Destiny, and I've never been to the guy's stream. So I don't know, this might actually be a nuanced take, and I'm coming at this from a bad angle. But I read the article anyway, because I'm, like, interested in how the media, like the normal media, and now the, like, new media interface with one another. Because they're still kind of, I don't want to say at odds, but we're feeling each other out. Like I've said it many times, I don't think streamers know how to give interviews. They say things that, when they're taken out of context, reflect poorly on the profession and allow the narrative to be painted that all streamers are rich and whiny. My apologies. But I also think that the, you know, old media doesn't know how to interview streamers to get good answers out of them. They always ask them the same thing. You know, it's like, how much money do you make? Okay, yeah. Like, a lot of people want to know that, but everybody knows, you know? Ninja's rich, get over it. Regardless, you know? But he was saying, like, you know, oh, Destiny's been casualized, there's no endgame content, and, like, all the content that's in the game is a little bit too easy now, and I really worry that they're appealing to, like, a more casual audience and blah, blah, blah. And all I could think about is, like, man, you probably stream, like, 50 hours of Destiny a week? With all due respect. And again, I'm more taking this as an example from, like, an agnostic perspective, but, like, I hope the developers are taking other criticisms into advisement, because, like, a streamer, and I always say this about Isaac too, but a streamer who plays, you know, your game essentially professionally, in terms of playtime, they're going to be in the 0.1%. So you need to, you know, kind of couch all of your expectations and your criticisms in the fact that, like, you've played so much of this. You've probably played more of the game than was intended. No wonder you're running into stuff that is like the game's made. It's made for casual players who are only raiding, 15 hours a week. How dare they? Anyway, that's where I'm at on that issue. That's why anytime I mention like something that I'm not enjoying about Isaac in particular, I often and always should try to take pains to be like, keep in mind, I have 3,500 hours in this game. If I made... I don't think we should take it, because I think we're at the tier cap anyway, but yeah, I'll take that, though. Solves 2 problems. Getting 2 birds stoned at once. Ooh, you love to see it. Okay. So I think we can stick with the Shoop-da-Whoop. But we should get the battery charges with Book of Revelations real quick. But if I made a game and then, somebody was complaining about it openly that had 3,800 hours in it, I would be like, thank you for your support. Please stop playing my game. I understand your criticisms, don't get me wrong, but you have squeezed it dry. It was really intended to be played for like 50 hours at maximum. You've overshot that by a factor of 100. Just, I'm not saying, like you should yell at your customers, but like, you gotta keep, context is important for feedback, I guess is what I'm saying. That's it. That's all I was trying to get out there. I forgot what else didn't I have a point at some point? I thought I was talking and I had some kind of point. Well, I guess, like, the way I would wrap it up is, like... And I want to say, like, I've been there. Sincerely. I've had the arguments on the school bus with a friend of mine about, like, oh, he was an Xbox fanboy and I was a PS2 fanboy. And I'm like, the Xbox has no games. And he's like, yeah, but nothing on the PS2 can look as good as Splinter Cell due to the technology and the AMD who gives an F chip. You know what I mean? So, like, I've been there, and if you're, like, on the younger side, I think is okay, That's, I don't want to say acceptable, but, like, expected is probably a good way to describe it. But if you're, like, an adult with a, like a job or in school and, like, with stuff to do, and you spend so much time being, like, arguing online about video games... I think it can be helpful to take a step back and remind yourself, like, these are toys, And you're gonna think that this is me, with, like, everything's okay in my life, you don't understand what it's like, blah, blah, blah. And you might be right to some extent. However, I also apply this logic to myself all the time. I tell myself to stop caring about dumb stuff, probably not on a daily basis anymore, but at least 3 or 4 times a week. I'll get, like... 95% positive feedback on something that I do, and then one person will be like, I really didn't like this, and that dominates your thinking process, and you're like, dude, yes, it's my job, so, I care, but at the same time, I'm also like, you're making silly YouTube videos. If somebody's out there going, if it's criticism, that's fine. If it's toxicity, that's a different thing altogether, but, if somebody out there is like, I didn't really like this thing you made, that's okay. Why worry about that? Takes some time. It's a skill I'm still developing, I should say, but trying to separate, the wheat from the chaff in terms of, stuff that's useful for my life and stuff that's not useful. What's not useful for me is focusing on the, I would even call it like the 0.5% of any online community that has just been kind of poisoned, and I mean that in a rude way, and I never say that, but I do mean it in a rude way. There's no other way to take it, in my opinion at least, but they've kind of been like poisoned by online interactions to exclusively interact in bad faith arguments and like trying to get people at all times. oh, you said this, but 6 years ago in this video you said this. What happened? How are you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, I think what's not important is fixating on that specific sort of feedback and instead focusing on the, you know, 99.5% of any community. And I do mean any community. YouTubers, professional wrestling, the 90 Day Fiancé subreddit, and it might just be online communities, to be fair, but, you know, I'm sure if you go to, like, a forum for, like, real estate agents, there's, like, you know, 50 trolls for every, you know, 10,000 real estate agents, and then they're, you know, they're probably like, man, I don't really like that guy. What's wrong with his life? But I am like, you know, and I'll tell you, it's a lot of it has been because of the Pokemon controversies that have happened this year. And I think it's a very interesting thing, and I'm approaching this with, like, no judgment. Sincerely. You might not believe me, but it's true. It's been a really, like, weird but also interesting case study in, like, online communities. Everybody kind of loves Pokemon, but they also hate the decisions that are being made with Pokemon. And I'm willing to go pretty deep on this one, even though we got red hearts. Let's expedite the process. I'm gonna try to approach this from a different angle too, because I don't know if I'm making the point I want to make. Everybody recently, well, not everybody, but a lot of the Pokemon community is upset with Sword and Shield, you know, the controversies, and I'm not saying they're illegitimate controversies, but controversies about, like, oh, they didn't have the full Pokedex, every other game has previously had it, and they stripped out some features, and now they're selling those features on a, you know, software as a service type model, and, you know, they're charging for DLC / expansions, whereas previously all that content has been available in free updates or something. That one I'm not particularly sure of, to be honest, but, and I get all that, but my response, and I still don't know if I've, like, gotten an answer, but my response has always been, but, like, why don't you just not play Pokemon anymore? And I'm frequently met with derision or even accusations that I'm, like, anytime I say something like that, people are like, you know, oh, it's radical centrism. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it to me. It seems like it's actually radically taking a stand, and the stand is I'm not going to support that. But, you know, I guess what it comes down to is you have an attachment to the Pokemon franchise, and, like, you want to see it do decisions that are right. And because you have such an attachment to it, it also leads to this situation where you're like, don't take this the wrong way, but, like, a little obsessed with the fact that they're making the wrong decisions. So, like, when you first become a member of the Pokemon community in 2009, everything's relatively hunky-dory. 2020, you're like, the people on this Pokemon subreddit are my friends and, you know, kindred spirits, and now we're just mad. So I'm very interested in online communities. Honestly, I look at a lot of online communities, and I go to subreddits that are really nice. Like, I think I'm extremely lucky. Our Northernlion and our NLSS Circle Jerk are really nice. Sometimes the occasional, and it's not even toxic, it's just, you know, like, not socially acceptable ways to, like, bring things up. Sometimes those come to pass, but apart from that, I think the community is really good. And we're doing a better job of moderating that stuff out of the community and, like, you know, empathetically, like, letting people who don't realize that they're acting badly or inappropriately, letting them know that, you know, the way that they're acting is... Hold on, I just had a Malwarebytes pop up. Letting them know that the way that they're behaving is not the way you should, you know? Always remember that there's a person on the other side of the... keyboard, you know what I mean? But I go to, like, some... And I don't go to participate, but I go to, like, kind of kibitz and be like, what's going on here? And I'm like, man, I go to some of the most toxic places online, and I'll tell you, well, maybe not some of the most toxic, Some of like the boomer most toxic places online. Like subreddits that are like 99% negative. And I'm like, I'll tell you the recipe. The recipe for a negative community is very simple. It's years and years of positive support, and then pivoting to betraying your audience. Or at least the audience having the opinion of being betrayed. I haven't learned everything there is to know about online communities, but anytime I see like a very aggressive and negative community, I'm like, I see how this happened. For 5 years, you know, you really liked X product, and then X product was like, hey, we've been sold to another company, and all of a sudden, you know, it's pay to win. Now, I think maybe it's like... Honestly, I think we want, like, none. To be straight up with you. I thought about taking the book for Bookworm, but... You know, I think part of it is like, hey, you have this habit, you make friends, you know, you're established in, like, the community, and everything's hunky-dory, and then after, like, a bit, you know, when things go wrong, you're like, well, I already post here. I'm in the habit of posting here, like, 5 times a day. Now things suck. And we're gonna double down on, like, the exact opposite. It's just interesting to me. And I guess, like, but I do also, I mean, I find myself in the position, I don't want that to be like, I don't want that to justify anyone treating anyone badly. It's more just like, you know, when I am into something, I'm into it, and then if it pivots into a direction that, you know, is not for me anymore, I just leave. I don't know. I feel like life's too short to... You know, like, when... you shouldn't, in my opinion, I don't think you should examine your whole life through the lens of, like, how am I gonna feel about this on my deathbed? But, like, the idea that in, you know, when you're 70, you know, your grandkids might be like, do you have any regrets? And you'll be like, yeah, like that whole 6-month period in my early 20s where I was just mad online about Pokemon the whole time. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not saying you can't talk about it. You can talk about it all you want. You can make that your whole personality for all I care. I don't know you. I'm just I'm just spitballing. But I do also love when I say stuff like this and people are like, "Oh, well, if we'd had that attitude in the Second World War." And I'm like, "Just stop." You are thinking that that helps your case, but it just makes your case that much more comical. If nobody ever stood up for anything that they believed in, would man have ever reached the level of excellence to which they have gotten? Anyway. That's where I'm at. It's been on my mind today. Particularly, you know, as a streamer, as a YouTuber, or anybody, and this probably describes a lot of people, maybe the majority of people out there now. Anybody with, like, a social media presence, I think you can relate, you know? It's something that's on YouTubers' minds all the time, you know? How much credence do you pay to bad feedback? A lot of people out there, and I've done this, for sure, and I think it's a survival mechanism. A lot of people out there never read comments. A lot of people out there are the exact opposite. They read every comment. I think both of those strategies are a little insane. Never reading any comment is gonna leave you... I don't want to say you're, like, creating an echo chamber, but you're gonna miss out on useful feedback. You're also gonna miss out on a lot of positive reinforcement, to be honest. That could really, you know, help you out if you're feeling down. Reading every comment is insanity. You have to get your own work done as well. And that is work, but well, let's rephrase. It's labor. Is it work? I don't know. Work isn't, like, the physical formula for work is like energy plus distance or something like that. In which case, are you really generating much movement on those comments? Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if you can use the physics analogy for that, but I got a chance to flex the fact that I got an A in 11th and 12th grade physics 15 years ago. But how much has physics changed? Probably pretty little at the level that I was learning, especially. I like to read a few. Get a little bit of an idea of a barometer of how people are responding to content, but not so much that you're like, Like, what I've done it, and my only resolution, I'm sure I'll do it again, but my only resolution is to do it less. I always hate when, like, a YouTuber takes, I cringe. I shouldn't say I hate it, because I get it and I embody it, but I cringe when a YouTuber, especially a popular one, takes, like, one comment from 100 positive ones that is a little negative and spotlights it on Twitter. I don't even hate it for, like, the reason that, you know, a lot of people do, which is like, don't feed the trolls. If you respond to negativity, you will get more negativity. Because I don't know if I actually believe that, to be honest. Just because it was internet logic in 1996, I don't know if it still applies to this day. I cringe more because I'm like, I don't know, I see it like, if I follow you on Twitter, I guess I should think about it this way. You know, if you follow someone on Twitter, you probably, like, care about hearing the things that they're going through and the things that they're, like, saying. So, sure, maybe there's a lot of people that do like to see it. And I don't even see it as, like, a fishing for compliments sort of thing. What I do see it as is, like, an opportunity. I don't want to say to abuse your power. It's just, here's the way I look at it, okay? It's like, can you imagine if, you know, like Martin Scorsese booted up Twitter and was like, check out what this idiot said to me. Hey, I didn't really like The Irishman. I thought it was boring. Make some good movies, Grandpa. First off, for whatever reason, I would love to see that tweet. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. But that tweet, for whatever reason, would be hilarious to me. I'll take it. I'll take it. And we'll move on. But it's just like, you know why Martin Scorsese's not doing that? Is because he's making stuff, you know? Like, he's doing work. I'm sure if he wanted to, I mean, I tweeted not at him, because I don't even think he has a Twitter account, nor would I do this to begin with. But I tweeted, like, I think his takes on the Marvel stuff last year were, like, short-sighted. But I was also, like, you know, not even like I get where he's coming from, but I was like, I mean, I respect him as a filmmaker. I'm not gonna define his whole legacy by the fact that he doesn't want to see some cartoon garbage with me, you know? I'm sure if he wanted to, he could find endless fonts of negativity, despite being one of the most critically acclaimed filmmakers of my lifetime, at least, if not all time. He could find a bunch of idiots saying dumb stuff about him online, you know? But I'm imagining he probably doesn't sit in his home doing that, because he's too busy making movies about Robert De Niro smoking cigars and shooting people in the chest with Tommy guns. Something along those lines. I haven't seen The Irishman yet, but... but I mean, come on. So I always think, like, you know... I've been getting better about it, and I'm kind of like this... I don't... It's overly flattering, but I do sometimes see myself as kind of like this old sage of YouTube, just because I've been doing it for so long. So, you know, I have a unique perspective. Why am I still hearing your sounds? I have a unique perspective just because I've been doing it for so long. And even if you grew an audience that was, you know, 10 times larger than mine in 1/10 the time, there is no substitute for experience. And it's and age, honestly. But I think you can apply it to your own life as well, you know? Sometimes people will tweet me, and then there will be like an argument in my mentions, and I'm like, even for the person defending me, I'm like, go about your day, please. Like, do not let this bad faith argument ruin your day. Like, I love being defended when I'm right, don't get me wrong. However, the idea that you might, like, get to the end of your day and, you know, your wife might be like, oh, honey, what'd you do today? And you're like, oh, I'm mad. She's like, why? And you're like, I defended my favorite content creator on the internet. I'm like, nah, dude, go spend time with your family and, like, watch my videos and enjoy them. Yes, absolutely. Subscribe. Oh, yeah, like, click the like button if you enjoyed it, no doubt. But at the same time, like, you know, follow me on Twitter? Yeah. Reblog my TikToks, please. But don't spend your day defending my honor on the internet. That's a net loss for humanity. If you're a good person, I want you out there doing good person stuff. I can take a negative comment from someone with the Sobble avatar that is like, you didn't like Joker? Here's a clown avatar. That's where we're at on social media to some extent. If you have a different taste in something, you're a clown now. I didn't realize. There's only 3 responses to opinions on Twitter right now. Clown avatar, calling someone a boomer if they don't like something you like, and then saying, welp, that's late stage capitalism for you. That's where the Twitter discourse is at right now. Now, if you're listening to this and you're saying, that sounds stupid, that's why I don't want you to spend your time in my mentions helping me out. Because I gotta be honest, I'm pretty relentless with the mute button. I like to not maintain an echo chamber, but like a lot of the stuff that gets muted has no reason to ever be seen by human eyes, essentially. Anyway, that's my treatise on online comments. I think as we live in an increasingly online world, you know, a lot of people are gonna need feedback and support in that domain. I think there's like 2 reactions people are making, you know? Social media sucks. I'm gonna go be a hermit and live in the woods. I'm still kind of like, I got a toe dipped in that water. I'm not sure how it's gonna shake out. Checking the water temperature right now and the chlorination. And then there's people who are like, social media is like ubiquitous. I'm gonna live my whole life online. And that second group, it's a valuable skill to be able to look at someone's avatar and immediately go, should this person, should I listen to what they're saying? I hate to say it. You're not gonna, I hope this hasn't come across as a negative discussion. I'm having fun. I'm talking about something I enjoy, I guess. But, you know, if somebody tweets me and they have a headshot, like, of their real face, which is ironic because I use a cartoon avatar, but if they have, like, a headshot of their real face and their bio is, like, you know, head of UX at some startup I've never heard of, I'm like, oh, this person is safe to interact with. They have not seen fit to anonymize themselves, which means they're probably not gonna be toxic, you know? When I see somebody that has like a Sonic the Hedgehog avatar, I'm not saying I immediately think toxic, but I am saying I put the guard up just slightly, because I'm like, this person has sawn fit. Is that the word? Seen fit probably is a better way to describe it. This person has seen fit to make a Twitter account that does not use their real name or photo. And as a result, I just have to tell you, I think you're a little bit more of a wild card. Now, some of you out there watching this or sleeping to this right now, and I'll just send this message straight through to your subconscious. Are like, you know, people who have tweeted me a lot and don't use your real names or pictures. Totally fine. You've been vetted. If you're like, I tweet him all the time, but I don't know if he thinks I'm toxic. Probably not, to be honest. Probably not. You know, you remember usernames as if they're a real name after some amount of time. Anyway, that's one of the themes of more 2019 than 2020 for me, to be honest, is figuring out, like, not all criticism should be taken as valid. I still think, like, I'm not saying a course in school should be taught about this, but and what I'm about to say is very acerbic, and I apologize for this. You're gonna think this is a very jerky thing to say, but it comes from experience. If you have experience and disagree with me, then by all means. I think we're brought up quite nicely believing that everybody's opinion is equally valid. The longer I live on this planet, the more I'm like, most people's opinions are not valid about most subjects, and yet those people are oftentimes the quickest to give feedback. Being able to recognize, you know, actionable good feedback and not just lump all criticism in the same bucket is an incredible skill. You know, if I was driving and, you know, some dude that was driving like a convertible sports car, like got up alongside of me and like honked and gave the middle finger, whether correct or otherwise, I would probably be like, I don't care about this guy's opinion. If I was driving my mom somewhere and she was like, can you drive a little slower? Like, you're driving dangerous right now. I would be like, oh, okay. I'm sorry, Mom. I really messed up. It matters. The context matters. Anyway. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It's a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!